YarninBlak. Today I've got a really great friend of mine, Cameron, who's come to talk to us. So, hey, Cameron.
Hi, AJ. How you going?
Cool. Just before we do start, I just want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we're meeting on today. I'm here on the land of the Wurundjeri people in Balcombe, and I pay respect to elders past, present, and emerging. And I thank you for coming to talk to us today.
Thank you, AJ. Thanks for having me here on your podcast.
Cool. Thanks. Now, Cameron, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So, I'm Cameron Balcombe. I'm a 26-year-old Ocala Jabberguy man. So my mob is from far north Queensland. So just outside of Cairns and north of Cairns, further up in the Cape. I've grown up down here on Wurundjeri country my whole life. And I'm currently working as a forensic mental health trainee at Forensic Care here in Victoria. So Forensic Care is our forensic mental health system and mental health service. So yeah, I'm just a trainee here as part of the Aboriginal Mental Health Traineeship program, getting some clinical experience and some clinical skills to work with mob and to improve their mental health.
What made you want to go to mental health?
Well, if you asked me a couple of years ago if I'd be working in mental health, I would have said definitely not. I could never have seen myself doing it. A job came up, a traineeship came up that interested me. Mental health was something that members of my family had struggled with, and seeing the job and the traineeship and organisation that's willing to train up a young Aboriginal person and equip them with tertiary mental health qualifications was a real a draw card for me. Having been to university before and not doing too well at it in commerce, I never thought I would go back to university. So seeing sort of health and mental health, that sort of interested me, and an organisation willing to hire me. Now that I've started working in health, I actually wouldn't see myself working anywhere else. I love where I work and I love the people that I work with, and the relationships you can build and the outcomes you can see at the end, when people are really unwell and seeing them improve and get better. So that's sort of why I'm in this space. And yeah, like I said, I wouldn't see myself working in any other space other than mental health.
So you said you studied before. What was your previous study?
Oh, well, in another life, straight out of high school, I studied a Bachelor of Commerce at Deakin, but I didn't do too well at it. I probably should have clicked on. I wasn't too good at maths in high school. I should have clicked on a commerce degree. It was all mathematics, but I didn't, and I left. And yeah, I never thought I'd go back to uni. I went to RMIT and studied a diploma of business to think, oh, maybe I do want to go back to study. I didn't think I'd ever go back, and then this job came up for healthcare.
Yeah. You won some awards as well, and I know that you won the Ricky Marks Rising Star Award.
Yeah, that was a few years ago.
That was like in 2015, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was a baby.
How old were you then?
I would have been 18.
Yeah.
18 in 2015, yeah.
Yeah. So why did you win it?
I got nominated by a person that I worked with. I did volunteer work with kids through an organisation called Edmund Rice Camps. So I was a little kid on a camp back in the day when I was in high school as a participant. So what Edmund Rice Camps does is they take kids away that need a bit of a holiday, and they take them away maybe down to the Surf Coast or out to Malmesbury campsite, and we just have lots of fun for a week, like a school camp. And after being a participant on the camp, I wanted to do the same thing as a leader and help other kids in the same way I was helped. So I got involved with Edmund Rice Camps as a leader, and over the years I worked my way up to leadership positions within the organisation, running the camps and whatnot. And for that work, I got nominated for the Ricky Marks Award, and I was up against some really strong competition, some really inspiring other Aboriginal people. I didn't think that I had a chance even to even have an opportunity to get the award. So I was really happy to get it. And for me, it's sort of what started my passion for wanting to help people and to continue working within the Aboriginal community itself.
Yeah. That and you also got Executive Dean's Award, didn't you, for Charles Sturt University?
I know, who would have believed it? That Cameron could get an Executive Dean's Award for academic performance. So, like I said, I didn't do too well in my commerce or my diploma of business, but I just, like I said, actually, I really enjoy the work that I do, and I guess if you enjoy what you do, you'll excel at it. And yeah, with my uni work, I've been getting high distinctions and in my work, and I think it's made me really proud to see. I, I wasn't very good at high school. I wasn't very good at university, but once I did something I was really enjoyed, I was good at it. So I'm pretty proud of that. Let's see if I can follow it up again this year.
And no maths involved?
No maths involved, luckily.
Yeah, that's cool. And I know the other award that you got was a community award, the Services Community Award that you got from the National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Catholic Council.
Yes, that's right. So I did get an award. I'm listing them all now, AJ. I got an award.
Research and Google.
Good stuff. I got an award a couple of years ago for my work with NATSIC. So yeah, the National Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander Catholic Council. I've been working with them for quite a few years. Mum is the coordinator currently of the Aboriginal Catholic Ministry here in Victoria. So I've grown up within the Aboriginal Catholic space. And on a national level, I've worked with our Catholic Council all through Australia. So I've been very lucky to meet young Aboriginal Catholic people from all over the country and get their views and feedback on the way that the church should be and how it can be more inclusive going forward. And because of that work that I've done within that Catholic community, I was nominated for the award and the community award, and yeah, I was lucky enough to be awarded it. So I've been very lucky over the years to get these awards, and I just want to say I do not do this work to get awards. It's always a nice bonus though to be recognised for work that you do anyway, and I guess it keeps motivating me to continue to do it.
Well, congratulations on all those awards anyway, man.
Thank you, AJ. Appreciate it.
A question that I just think you brought up that you were talking about the views of young Aboriginal Catholic people. What were some of the views that you were getting of how the church could change or?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is that the Catholic Church needs to be more inclusive of Aboriginal people, and I think slowly we're getting there, particularly here in Victoria. So that's one thing, and another big thing is connection to community. So our young people want connection to their local parishes. It's the access to their parishes that they have difficulty with. So there's a number of reasons for that, like them being remote, but also not having access to Catholic Church services in their local communities. That has been a big difficulty. And with COVID, our Catholic Council has worked to create a more, I guess, COVID-friendly way of being able to connect with your spirituality through our religion, Catholicism, through an online means. So it's been helpful from that aspect, but I guess that's something that we're wanting to work towards. How can we connect to more young people within our remote communities without them having to leave the remote communities? And one thing I will say about our young Aboriginal Catholic people, AJ, is we've conducted research, NATSIC has, that has shown that the largest group of growing Catholics is Aboriginal people here in Australia. So it's showing that Aboriginal people are drawn towards religion, drawn towards Christianity. It's how can we relate that Christianity to our own spirituality as Aboriginal people? And that's what our NATSIC and what our Aboriginal Catholic ministries attempt to do, to bridge our Catholicism with Aboriginal spirituality and what that means.
Yeah. Do you see any similarities or major differences between Aboriginal practices and Christianity?
Oh, definitely. Well, they can be both very ceremonious Aboriginal practices and definitely Catholic practices. Um, uh, one thing that I think about is that when I think of Aboriginal people and spirituality and religion, is that Aboriginal people and First Nations people in general, all over the world, Indigenous people, have looked up to the stars for thousands of years and wondered what's their purpose and why are they here. And yeah, why are they on this earth? And for me as a Catholic person, religion and my faith connects me to that. And it doesn't. I don't want to say that the Catholic side completely takes over, because I don't think that all of that formalities, all those formalities and that pomp and show of some Catholic services is right. I think that that connection of our Aboriginality, our spirituality, that connection to our Catholicism, they complement each other rather than each one trying to overpower each other. How can they work together? So as an example, we have in a Catholic ceremony, we'll have the gospel will be processed up to the altar. When in our church, when we process the gospel, we'll also process a message stick, which has the symbols of our church and of our Catholic communities throughout Australia to send a message. The Aboriginal people are included during this really important part of our liturgical service. Because how can we include those sorts of things and work together rather than trying to, completely separate them? And with an organization like the Catholic Church, where there's a lot of history and tradition, it's hard to sort of implement these what can seem like little things, like just carrying a message stick with the gospel. It can be hard, and that's sort of the challenges that we have, but that's our goal. How can we continue to bring these Aboriginality into a Catholic spiritual service? And that could be, like I said, through the message stick, but also songs. And we have our own Aboriginal Our Father, when the Our Father needs to be spoken. So there's things like that that we try and do to bring our Aboriginal spirituality into our Catholic spirituality.
Yeah. A question, is there many Aboriginal priests around?
There's a few. I couldn't say I couldn't name any off the top of my head. There's a lot of brothers. The people I think of are brothers and sisters of ministries. And I'm sure that there are Catholic priests. I just can't think of any right now that are Catholic priests. There's definitely many Aboriginal Christian priests amongst other Christian orders, but amongst Catholic, I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, okay. What attracts you to the church?
The sense of community. I guess it's something that we all really crave and we require in our lives, is our connection to community. And for me, that connection to my Aboriginal Catholic community is what sort of draws me to my church and drew me in to begin with. And then from there, it's the support that the community provides for each other. That's what I guess keeps me staying. And also the opportunities that they've provided me over the years, being able to travel around the country and to places throughout the world. I don't think I would have been able to do it if it wasn't for the support of my church and my local church community. Yeah.
You've had a really great opportunities, as you said, to travel. Where are some places you've actually been?
I've been to a few, AJ. This year I went to, over the Christmas holidays, I went to North, Central and South America. So I did like Brazil and Colombia and US. And so I did that, and I've been over Asia. I did the 18-year-old backpacking trip through Southeast Asia. I've done that. I did I had a really wonderful opportunity in 2018 to go to South Africa. I went with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. I was supported to go as part of the Classic Wallabies Indigenous Exchange Program. So I went over to South Africa, and I lived there for 6 or 8 weeks in a local community, and we helped create like keyhole shaped garden beds, and we so that we could teach the local community, the local school there, how to grow food and create a sustainable project. But we also painted up a classroom that was built right next to the garden there, and we did half Aboriginal painting, and on the other half we did South African like paintings to link them both cultures together, and it was to teach people and the students there about Aboriginal culture, and we were so far away, and it was quite a few similarities between our cultures that we got to learn over time. So that was a really great opportunity that I think opened my eyes up to some of the struggles that people experience, particularly people of color. I'm a fair-skinned Aboriginal person, and I've been very vocal and very proud from a young age, thanks to my mother, who's a big voice for the Aboriginal community, and instilled that in myself. But being a fair-skinned Aboriginal, I haven't experienced as much racism as some darker people had. Or I must admit, I copped my fair share of how can you be white? How can you be white and be Aboriginal? I copped that all the way through primary school and high school. But that really degrading sense of that people experience, I never experienced that before going to South Africa and seeing the separation between the whites and the blacks and the coloured people there. It was really eye-opening. So for me to go on an Indigenous exchange over there, it really opened my eyes. And I guess that probably really sparked my passion for travelling. And and I think travel opens up your eyes to a lot of different things and really broadens your horizons, I think. And I have one more trip coming up. I've always got something on the go, AJ, and this one is a pilgrimage. I'm going to the Holy Land. So I'm going to Israel and Palestine to follow in the footsteps of Jesus Christ in July. I'll be going away for, the chair's going down. I'm going away for 19 days to World Youth Day. So I'm going to Portugal, the Middle East, to go and follow in the footsteps of Jesus Christ, to celebrate with millions of other young Catholic people from around the world. And I'll be going with some other Aboriginal people here from our parish here in Victoria, all the way over on pilgrimage to follow the footsteps of Jesus. So that's my next trip.
Yeah. Any places you'd love to go to that haven't been?
Places I'd love to go. I don't know about like places I'd like to go, because I've done like a lot of places I wanted to go to. Brazil was really up there. I love going to Brazil. I think for me it's like experiences and things I'd like to do. And one thing I'd like to do is Cape Town to Cairo, which is about overland route from Cape Town, South Africa, up through Africa to the very northern part up to Egypt. So that would be one trip I'd love to do one day. But yeah, we'll see.
Well, there's always hope. You can achieve anything, man. So.
Well, that's true. I did a few years ago. I did drive just before COVID. I rode an auto rickshaw, 3-wheeled glorified motor lawnmower south of India. So yeah, after doing that on the craziest roads in the world, I probably could do anything.
Yeah. Another question is, do you have any role models, and who are your role models?
Well, AJ, I don't want to say, but you're a pretty big role model for me. You're a mentor for me, and that's how I got to know you. And being the inaugural Aboriginal social worker, that's one thing that I aspire to be. I'm planning on going and doing my Master of Social Work next year. So for me, you're a big role model. And your involvement in the Aboriginal community here in Victoria, I don't think there's an Aboriginal person that doesn't know you, or at least know of you. So I'd like one day to be, someone like you. So I think you're a role model, definitely.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And I'll pay you later for that statement.
No, not at all, AJ. But look, there's role models that we all have. And for me, Uncle Chris Dunk, he was a member of our Thomas Emblin community. He was an Aboriginal social worker who passed away in 2020. Right up until his death, I remember him in the hospital bed talking to patients on Zoom. Things like, for me, that's a role model. That's what I want to strive to be like. Someone that I love what I do. I don't know if I could do it from a hospital bed. But you know what, Chris did it, and I think that's something I strive to do, to be able to help people no matter what, and no matter given the circumstances. So there's people throughout my life that I really admire, and then I learn things off of.
What makes a good leader?
Someone that's nice. What makes a good leader? Someone that can lead without seeming like they're leading. That's probably the best way to describe it. You never like anybody that's trying to take control, and I think if you can lead from and take a backseat approach, I think that's the best way, because that makes people feel supported and gives them an opportunity to learn to be able to lead too. And it's usually the quiet ones are the overachievers. So yeah, I reckon that's probably a big strength, if you can be quiet about it and get the job done.
Yeah. What do you find at the moment? There's a lot of political stuff happening in Aboriginal affairs at the moment. We've got the referendum talks, the treaties. How do you manage all those political things that are happening at the moment?
Well, I watch a lot of the ABC. The ABC, I think, is a good good news organization to be able to learn about all these sorts of issues, and something that's a little less left or right wing. In regards to keeping up, like you said, there's a lot going on particularly within Victoria and in the national space. I guess a lot of reading and listening and meeting with people and talking. I think, the issue right now that's really big is the potential, the referendum and the potential to a voice to Parliament. I think the way I've been approaching that issue is having as many conversations as possible, whether that be, with my mum, with yourself, my friends, or with colleagues in the lunchroom. I've even spoken about the voice. I think those sorts of conversations are helping me learn and helping others learn about what it is that we're working towards and what that means for an Aboriginal person. Because I think that's being lost with some of these issues, is what it actually means to Aboriginal people for some of these things to pass and get through, such as treaty or a voice, what it actually means for an Aboriginal person and what it will mean. That might help encourage some people to think a certain way. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's having those organic conversations is how you keep up to date with these issues. And also, of course, attending the treaty workshops that are happening. I think they're happening every fortnight, every 3 weeks. Attending those town hall forums, they're important also to hear directly from the treaty commissioners and people that have knowledge of those issues, because we can hear things on the ABC and we can have these conversations, but we need to also hear from the people that are at the table. And I think if you can listen to them and make up your own opinion, I think that's the best way to go about it.
Do you think some of the issues are dividing community, or do you think it's actually helping strengthen community, or a bit of both?
Yeah, look, it's a bit of both, AJ. I think you've got two very vocal sides. If you're talking about the voice in particular, I don't really see too much resistance to the treaty process that's happening here in Victoria, which is great. In regards to the voice, though, you've got two very vocal parts. But if I were to give my opinion to it, I think that Australia has come a long way. We've got a long way to go, that's for sure, and this process has highlighted that. But I think that the time is now, and if we don't vote yes to the voice, I worry about what that is going to do for the future in regards to Aboriginal people in Victoria and in the country. So yeah, I'm going to vote yes. I think that the details in regards to what the voice is and who's going to be a part of it and representative of it, I think that needs to be communicated to the people. But I will be voting yes, because I think that if we don't, it's taking a step back of 20 years, and we can only make steps forward, I think, if we vote yes to a voice to Parliament.
Do you see a lot of negativity from non-Indigenous people that might be a little bit confused about what's actually happening?
Well, just log into Facebook or TikTok or any of those websites and have a look at any comments about the voice to Parliament. And it seems to be there are people that are against it that are non-Indigenous, and they seem to be very vocal about it. And, you know, for me, it goes back to the arguments of, you know, it wasn't me that done it, so why should I apologize? I think that that's irrelevant. I think it's not necessarily about feeling guilty, and I think maybe that's how some non-Indigenous people feel, that it's just they're feeling guilty for what's happened, or why should they be given, I mean Aboriginal people, why should Aboriginal people be given additional privileges when they've got all these privileges apparently? I think it's some of that, and all of that for me relates to misinformation and things that aren't factual, like the Centrelink handouts and all of this sort of stuff. It all comes back to that, and it's just another thing that Aboriginal people want, and they shouldn't get it because it's just dividing the nation. And I don't think it is. I think that as much as there's a yes and a no position on this amongst our community, and it is in ways drawing us apart, it is bringing us together, because at the end of the day, in this scheme of things, we are all for the same thing, and it's recognizing Aboriginal people. It's just how we go about recognizing them, and that's where the arguments come from. And I have a feeling that there's few non-Indigenous people that, and from the social media, that they just don't think that we should be given a voice, and that by us being given a voice, it's creating more division. And I don't think that's the case. And I also don't think that people that haven't been affected by these issues really can talk about how it's affected them, because I don't believe that it has.
Yeah. If I gave you a magic wand and endless amount of money, what would be one thing you'd want to change in the Aboriginal space?
That's a big question, AJ. It's a big question. Look, I work in justice, in justice space, and I think a lot of work can be done to improve the lives of Aboriginal people within the justice system, particularly those suffering mental health issues. That's where I come from. It's my background and what I do day in, day out. So I see it, and I think that there is a solution, and I don't think it's going to be easy. It's going to take funding and maybe a magic wand, AJ, but I really think that that's the space that can be improved upon. You know, where the most incarcerated people, First Nations, Aboriginal people, are in this country. 100% of young people in the Northern Territory that are locked up are Aboriginal. And when you look at these sorts of statistics, for me, it's mind-boggling. It's upsetting. And I think that more can be done within this space. I think that it requires funding. I think it requires community and government partnerships. I think it requires self-determination for community to make decisions that affect them, about them, and make those decisions. So there's a number of complexities, and people have tried to work within this space, and it's difficult. But really, I think that the justice system, mental health, those two things can be improved, and I don't think it would be too hard, other than money, which Australia's got plenty of. I don't think it would take too much to really improve if you put that money in the hands of the people that it will affect.
Yeah. You've also done a lot of travel around Australia as well. So for people that have never been to like remote communities, what would you say would be things that they would be kind of shocked about or would not think about themselves?
That everybody knows everybody. Like, but probably it's like everybody's related to everybody somehow. It's probably a little bit like that. In our community here in Victoria, everybody knows somebody. It's 6 degrees, or probably I would say probably 2 or 3 degrees of separation here in Victoria. When you're in a remote community, everybody knows everybody, and I think it really highlights. We talk about it here within my university course, and within Aboriginal health, that connection to community and what that means. But then when you're out in remote communities where the community raises children together and you see how that all works, and I guess it highlights the real connection that Aboriginal people have to other people, whether that be their direct family or their cousins or their friends. And I guess it really highlights that. And that when, the media, people that haven't been out to remote communities and maybe have seen it in the media or whatnot, they might have a certain opinion or view of what it's like out there. But I think if you go out there and you really experience it and you see it, you realize maybe why it is like that, and maybe also why it's maybe not so bad. You might look at kids running around without shoes on. Oh, that's terrible, maybe because you're used to shoes, you're in the city or whatnot. People out there don't have that. And you look at the simplicities of that and you see, well, actually they're happy. And that there's no need to be angry about it. You don't need to be angry on their behalf. So I see a little bit of that. And I think I've been out to, Thursday Island as an example, which is an Aboriginal community outside of Townsville, and they had quite a few issues a few years ago in regards to a police incident that resulted in the death of an Aboriginal young man. So, when you hear about Thursday Island and you've watched any YouTube videos on the current affair about how bad this island is and all this stuff, and then you go out there, it's lovely. I'd love to live there. But the problem is with those communities, and I think that people may not recognize, is that there is not enough jobs and there's not enough education. And that is a problem that creates some of these social issues, that I believe can be improved upon. Like when we talk about in the previous question about money and the magic wand, I think money can fix these problems. But I think that if people go out and visit these communities, you wouldn't want to go anywhere else. They're beautiful, they're lovely. But there are issues. There isn't many jobs. And how can we try and improve that for our young people? And how can we educate and then keep them within their communities? Those are the issues we need to work towards, I think.
I kind of agree with you too. Actually, another couple of questions is, how much Aboriginal studies did you learn at school?
I don't think too much. I when I think back on it, I can't really remember too much. Maybe like a year 7 humanities class. I learnt about Aboriginal people, and I think it was a bit whitewashed and the true history swept under the rug. I do remember I was in grade 1 at primary school, and Mum had organised with my grandpa for some dancers to come from Yarrabah, which is where my grandpa grew up in Cairns. It's a mission up there. And the dancers came down, and I remember all through even primary school and high school, how much the students took away. They were just dancers and they just came and participated in our class. But because we don't hear about Aboriginal people, we don't see them. And then to see Aboriginal people come painted up in lap and didgeridoo and clapsticks as a young person, that was fantastic. And for me in my primary school, being fair-skinned, being very proud and telling everybody I'm Aboriginal, but stereotypically maybe not looking like one, to have like my family come from Cairns down from Yarrabah and dance and turn that this is my culture and this is like my family. I think that was really great. And that is probably, I would say, all that we really learned, other than the colonization that you learned in year 7. And it was only because Mum and Grandpa organised it.
Yeah.
So yeah, not a lot, I don't think. But AJ, I will say that a lot has changed. And I have quite a few friends that are teachers. I have a friend that's living in Brisbane right now. She's a primary school teacher, and every day she does an acknowledgement of country. Unheard of when I was at school. I'm sure when you were at school also.
Yeah.
So it's great, and things are changing, which is fantastic.
That's good. How do you think we can actually advance that?
By having dances at the school. That's one. That's one thing. By bringing culture into schools and showing people what Indigenous culture is, one.
Yeah.
But two, showing them also what Indigenous Aboriginal people look like, who they are. I've gone out to a friend's school before. They were teaching the kids about Aboriginal people and the history, and they're only primary school kids. But my friend wanted me to come to show them that Aboriginal people aren't all dark-skinned and sit around campfires wearing laptops and dot, because that is not what all Aboriginal people look like. And I think that if we could educate people in schools and young people that it doesn't matter what you look like, it's who you are, how you've grown up, and how you connect to your community and others. That is what identifies somebody as being Aboriginal, and your connection to your mob and your family, your kinship group. Those sorts of things is what connects you, not what you look like. So I think that's one other big thing, is showing young people that all Aboriginal people aren't dark skinned. Yeah.
We do know that there's a lot of Aboriginal kids that don't know exactly which community they come from.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that a lot in the church?
Not really. Not really. Most people that I interact with within my church group know where they're from, or have an understanding of roughly where they're from, not necessarily about their tribal group, given obviously the history. But like I always go back to, it's not about where you're from or who you're from. We know what's happened in the past, and we know that that's what the government tried to do. But it's about who you are inside and how you identify, how you talk, and how willing you are to learn about your culture. I think that's also a big thing too. We want, as Aboriginal people, we share our culture. We want to keep our culture alive. So sharing, and someone that doesn't know too much about their Aboriginal heritage, by listening to people, our knowledge holders, our elders, by listening to them, I think is really important, to learn from them. Because you might not be able to learn exactly where your mob was from or by your family was from, but if you're accepted by your Aboriginal community, learn from them, because they can bring you into their local community and make you feel welcome and accepted.
Hey, I've got two final questions. One of my questions are: what is something that people don't know about Cameron?
That don't know about Cameron? I'm not sure. I work in a pub. I do that. I do keep that on the down low, working in mental health and AOD stuff. But yes, I do work in a pub, so I'm good at pouring beers and making cocktails. I ride a motorbike. That's a new thing for me. I picked that up during COVID. Going for my license next Friday. So, yeah, I'm not too sure. Well, I'm usually, AJ, and you know me. I'm an open book. I could talk and talk. Most people know everything about me.
Yeah, that's why I'm narrowing the questions down.
Yeah.
I know that you have to go, and I know that you kind of squeeze this in the middle of trying to do all the great work that you do. But the final question I've got is, what do you want people to walk away with from listening to this podcast today?
That if you put your mind to it, you can do it. And I know that sounds so cliche, and but for me, I don't think I would have been. I would never have met you. I don't think, AJ, if it wasn't through my work. And if you put your mind to it, you can do it. And don't listen to what other people have to say. And one thing I think really is enjoy what you do, because if you enjoy what you do, then everything will be easy. I've worked in many jobs, call centers, calls, customer care. I've done this and done that. been to uni, I've done it, but it was when I found what I enjoyed and found a passion for it. That's where I excelled at it. So yeah, that's my advice. Find what you do and love it. Don't listen to anybody else. And yeah, just focus and look to the end goal. Like me, I'm graduating at the end of the year and I can't wait.
Cool. Well, Cameron, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on all your studies. I will bring you back for another podcast and another series as a continuation, because you are right. You've got lots to talk about, and I'm kind of trying to narrow it down a bit. So, guys, thank you for joining us today, and I'll see you at the next podcast. Bye.
Thanks, AJ. See ya.